It's the coffee. But check this out, y'all.
Talk to me.
Isn't it mad cool when you could actually say that you go back with someone for multiple years? That you go back like car seats,
like diapers,
and yet you seen them come up in the game. You see them serve their people. You see them get on a mission and do all the steps and things that are necessary to make that mission come to fruition.
Love it.
With that being said,
yes.
I have a young lady on the show with us today that I had the honor of going to the illustrious Brooklyn Technical High School with.
Big K.
So you know how I feel when I bring my
Brooklyn
Tech Nights on the show. With that being said, can we get a warm OnPoint welcome for someone who decided with her life skills to work helping people with their life skills when it comes to the mental, when it comes to doing all kind of things to get your mind in a better perspective. And it's so timely that we have someone like you on the show today.
So who is it?
I would like to give it up for my homegirl Sonya Davie in the building.
That's what's up. I like that music too. I feel like she walking down.
I've got to say that was one of the longest and best intros we've ever had for a guest.
That's from the coolest, which is crazy.
Oh God.
And so once again, thanks for coming on. I know you got a busy schedule, but you worked it out for us.
Thank you.
And what are your thoughts about what's happening in the world today? I mean, you turn on the TV on one day, a lady who is a top designer, got it going on, killing the world with her bags and her fashions, decided to take her life. And then one of my heroes, someone who I looked up to, decided to do the same in Anthony Bourdain. What do you think's going on?
And then also our president. Like, what's going on?
That's another mental illness.
It's a lot going on. I think people are finally realizing that, we talk about the stigma all the time, how important that it has to be lifted. Because we have this mentality that if a person's life looks good on paper, that they're okay. We believe that if they're, cute people never have problems. Handsome people never have problems. Muscular people never have problems. Rich people never have problems.
We do.
And we just think that, that their life is good, and especially if their bank account has a lot of numbers behind it. But we're seeing, and I've worked with so many different populations and still do populations of people, from those where money is a major issue to people where money is not an issue. And I've said to them, the only difference between your problems is your address. That's it.
I have a really important question because this topic was at work, especially when Anthony Bourdain, the news about him
came up.
And perhaps this was insensitive, but I was like, I don't understand when affluent people necessarily, not that they suffer from depression, but they end up in suicidal situations, because you have the means to fix it. You have the means in not in terms of money, like fix like your problems, but you can go to therapy, whereas poorer people unfortunately don't have the money to possibly, they don't have the finances to go to therapy.
Well, we have to look at mental illness now, or mental health, the same way as we do with physical health, because the same way rich people get sick and have cancer, it's the same thing. They can have a mental illness as well. And just because they have the resources, it doesn't always mean that a person is going to tap into those resources.
That's true.
That's what the biggest problem is, because even in some of our communities, some of the communities do have, therapy. They have, I know at one point I was working at a nonprofit for a very long time, and we had for a while, some free services, and people would only come in when their back was up against the wall. I worked with people that were mandated, so they would only come in at that point. And so you can have people that are very wealthy, but they still may not, and they know they have a problem, kind of, sort of. But in a case of Kate Spade, I use her as an example. According to what her sister said, she was concerned about her brand. And I don't think people remember or realize the level of protection when you go into therapy that you have. Like, legally, we cannot put you on blast. We can't take your information. We can't even, I tell clients, if I see you in the street and I don't speak to you, it's not because I'm being rude. I can't compromise your confidentiality legally.
Right.
So a lot of times when people are in those situations, like a Kate Spade or Anthony, they probably don't even think, because they're so deep into it, they don't realize I have the legal protection where no one will know. I just need to reach out. I just have to reach out. That's the thing. And because for a long time I worked almost primarily at one point with a lot of male clients on the mandated program, that's always the first thing I would tell them. Because a lot of my guys at that point were coming from the streets, they were coming from prison. So I said, listen, anything we talk about, I can't tell anybody. And that was usually the first 5 minutes of the conversation, to make sure that they understood this is really a safe place. Like, I could lose my license if I tell. So,
I'm sitting here wondering why mental wellness? Like, what caused that journey to where you said, this is what I want to do?
mental wellness, because for one thing, when I look at mental illness, it has multiple facets. My definition of mental wellness is the state of well-being that includes a healthy body and mind, because I'm also a certified health coach. So I believe in having a healthy body, and there's so much research that shows that there are times when for some people a mental illness can be a diagnosis, or sometimes it can just be a symptom. It all depends, because if they have other health issues that are going on, it can actually create depression, or create or make an anxiety worse if your health is not good. So, and a lot of people don't know about the correlation, and some people have even been misdiagnosed, because they'll go in, I'm feeling depressed, and the doctor will give them an antidepressant, but we're not checking your thyroid, or we're not checking the other areas of your life. We're not checking the other parts of your body, your health. Balance. That's really the underlying reason.
The reason, right?
Right. So I want to educate people to be, when we're looking at mental health, because it's a buzzword now, and I'm glad it's getting the attention, but we have to give it the proper attention by looking at all parts of your body and your life before we just give you a quick diagnosis with a quick fix and a quick medication that may, for some people, not be the ideal thing.
Yes.
What is it you find that in our community are like the driving causes for? I mean, obviously, if you're maybe Caucasian, if you're Chinese, whatever, there's going to be different factors. But for the African American male and maybe female, what are those driving factors that you've seen that are very prevalent to our mental illness?
That's a great question. There's a number of things. Health is one, definitely our health, because we have to pay attention to our health. I gave that whole spiel a minute ago about that, how the two work together. But also, because I worked in a community with the vulnerable population, trauma. We have lots of trauma. We do not even know what trauma looks like because it's been normalized in our family. In our
define trauma, right? Because most people are thinking like blunt force trauma, but it's bigger than that.
Yeah, so bigger than trauma. Trauma can include abuse, child neglect. It can include domestic violence, witnessing community violence. So just witnessing. And also being a victim of community violence. And there are times when I've asked those questions and the client will say, no, I've never experienced trauma. And I'll get to the next page and then I'll say, well, I got jumped in the 12th grade. I'm like, that can be. That's traumatic. That's a traumatic experience.
It affects you for the rest of your life.
Exactly. But again, we're just, oh no, but that's just what happens. It's like, no.
That's not normal.
Right, that should not be normal.
It's very much the hood.
Right, and it's a lot of things.
That's that mentality.
That's exactly what it is.
It's the hood.
I had to educate a lot of guys that were gang affiliated what PTSD was, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Oh, they suffer from that.
And they really, a lot of my gang members that I work with, and it was such a great dialogue because they were open to hear it.
Right.
And, teaching them about the reason why you're hypervigilant, you're always jumpy, because you always have to be ready to fight.
Right.
That's not normal. That shouldn't be normal. It may be normal in your community, but it shouldn't be normal. And so that's a lot of the things. I had guys that were not involved in a gang anymore telling me how they had problems with nightmares. And sleep, and I remember this conversation with the Latin King, and he said, Miss Davie, he said, I'm having like these nightmares now because of things that he was a part of. Right. And it was still plaguing him. So again, we're not educated on that. Again, our family dynamics, a lot of times the tough love sometimes works for some of the kids, but some of it's too much for the other.
I have so many questions. Because this is a topic that I very much like, especially the older I get, it's very important, I feel. But I will hit you with one question. How do you tackle the different toxicity in different, I guess, aspects of these people's lives? Because toxicity isn't just in one area. Absolutely. It spreads to all types of different areas.
I think education is first. Like I said, a lot of the people that I worked with before were mandated. So I used to take the time. So, okay, I got them. The courts made you come to me.
Captive audience.
I got you for 12 weeks. So I threw the book in terms of educating them. And it was great because they would come in not expecting, You know, the guys would always were grateful, even though they were forced to come, but they were grateful because we would have to look at those toxicities and the generations of toxicity that is. And I wouldn't beat up on their parents, but like I tell you, I said I'm not going to beat up on your parents or your family or even you, but I'm going to explain to you some of the things that you've been doing or things that you've experienced that were not ideal. Because right now I teach in two men's shelters, life coaching, and a lot of I have to explain the things to them about what has happened to them to help them understand why they're where they are. And back to your question about some of the issues that are plaguing our men, one of the first things I tell them, you haven't had a baton passed to you. There was not a passing of the baton. Right. And for me, there's three things that are important in that baton, which is life lessons. Someone should pass down to you life lessons. They should pass down some type of income. You know, if they don't have, you know, some money to help you get started, to launch in life. Sure. Or at least make sure you got solid insurance plan, you know, life insurance, something. Right. And the third is I call it your Rolodex, meaning contacts. Contacts.
So can you say then that they were passed the baton, but a negative baton? It wasn't.
They were passed down I call it the wrong formula of success. Right. Yeah. A lot of them were passed the wrong formula of success, and so.
One of the things I want to ask, I know in our community, a lot of black men don't have that male figure to lead them through the masculinity of life, right?
Absolutely.
So what are some of the challenges you face when talking or speaking with some of the parents? Because, you know, it's easier to have a child there and you can kind of maneuver where you want or direct where you want to go, and they'll just answer questions for you where you will actually build your case. But if you have a parent there, now you're exposing the parent, so they're a little embarrassed. How do you actually make them feel comfortable that this is a journey for them as well?
I usually would try to target the parent. Well, thankfully, when I worked with parents, again, they were mandated to see me. Right. And usually when I would go out and do workshops, it's always to the parents first.
Smart.
It's always to the parents first, because it's wonderful to have these kids and give them this, you know, these wonderful, you can do whatever you want, but you send them back to a toxic home, that may be a problem. Now, there are some shining stars that can navigate through the toxicity at home and still make it, but it's not enough, and that shouldn't be. So I believe in targeting the parents. First of all, let the parents know that life isn't over for you. That's the first thing.
Right.
You may need some healing from some generational pain. Absolutely.
That's right.
Because if this child is toxic,
generations of dysfunction.
Absolutely. Teaching them what a toxic home looks like. You know, and also the most important thing I have to tell parents is all children are different. That's the most important thing, because they will say, well, my daughter's not like my son. Exactly.
Nor are they supposed to be.
It would be common sense, wouldn't it?
No, or my oldest son is not like, my first child was this, and the second child, according to birth order, is going to be opposite.
I've heard that.
So you need to understand that.
I got a question for you, Sonya.
Sure.
How many of your patients would do better if they ate a diet of food that was helpful to their cause?
All of them.
And participated in exercise on a regular basis?
Every single one.
Oprah, that's not to you.
Every single one.
Nearly all of them. I'm going to give you a great example, because I definitely push the diet and exercise, because there's reports. This is not just me saying it, but there are reports that say that exercise, which releases a lot of our endorphins and dopamine, is on par or even higher than, you get a better result than antidepressants, than medication. And I had a parent once, because I sent out an email, and she was saying how her child had to receive some services. Her, I think, 5-year-old child had to receive some services. But one of the things that she recognized, and she had to discuss with her husband, is that their child's diet is very low in iron. And she said, you know, after I read your newsletter, I realized, you know, yes, our child needs to receive these services, but we also are not giving them an iron-rich diet. So I said, good. I said, I'm not going to tell you not to receive the services, but you also at the same time need to put food and exercise on par with everything else.
You need beets, collard greens,
liver.
You need jams,
kale.
So you know what? We're going to try something kind of different. We're going to do something fun. What I want you to do is pick a word that applies to your profession. When I point at you, you say the word, and then we're going to take that word and do something fun with it. For example, give me a word that applies to your profession.
Wait, I can't believe it. Diagnosis.
All right, so cool. We're going to start the game with diagnosis. Start thinking of your other word. Okay, we have the illustrious rhyming master with us, the griot sensation that they call D-Nasty. And we're going to flip some mental health issues into a positive rap. Here we go. And let's start with that first word when you're ready.
Depression.
Now understand I flip this dopest. 2D words, we got depression and diagnosis. You could be diagnosed with depression, but honestly, talk to somebody and get the lesson. You get the diagnosis. In other words, I spit lyrics for you, here's the dosage. Depression is rare in our community, but we won't admit it, so you know we gotta get it. Anxiety, you can really have an attack if you don't really know all of the facts. You worried about the outcome of the actions, and an attack just might happen. So what happened? You just anxious, wondering if I could think this. Best believe I come through and make this known. Freestyle off of the dome, but best believe we all got us thing in the zone. Oh, therapist, you already know I come through, and it's like an emeritus therapist. It's therapeutic to the user, cause we come through with words to never abuse her. You can just walk with us and talk with us, and you could be up in the light, not in the dust. It's illustrious with these words we bust, and it's plenty of different light we touch.
All right. That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool because D-Nasty can go all day. And I just wanted to get that in. So, how can people find out about you, about your services? I know you're sticking and moving today. You're making all kind of business decisions and moves. How can they get with you?
Well, first of all, they can go to my website, which is sonyadavie.com. That's SONYADAVIE.com. They can follow me on Instagram at Sonya Davie. They can follow me on Twitter, excuse me, at Sonya Davie. Yeah, that's the best way. Social media is the best way. Yeah.
Well, I will say, I know, Kurt, you want to piggyback, but yourself and the young lady we had before, Ebony, I think we really, really applaud the work that you guys do. We really need it.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, we come from some fragmented homes, some fragmented communities. Mm-hmm. We've been preyed upon. There's a lot of systemic things that go on to keep us where we are. So, you know, I think we really, really do appreciate and applaud the work that you guys do. It's extremely important. Thank you.
Thank you. I
appreciate
appreciate
thank you
it.
for coming.
Okay, and we have one closing question for her though.
Yeah, what's that?
Here is the closing question. If you had the opportunity to pick someone to meet who could be very helpful to your business, who would you choose? Would you choose Oprah Winfrey,
We have Oprah.
Michelle Obama,
You like those
or Beyonce?
If I could choose one,
Yeah, you had only one.
And why?
probably Michelle Obama.
Okay, and why?
Because of her commitment to wellness. I fell in love with that. Yeah, her commitment to wellness, and I think that she gets it. You know, that the others
That's
too,
okay.
but
We
not-
can't be everyone's favorite.
definitely. Yeah.
And also meet the people that could fund your projects, right?
Yes.
A lot of things that we do from the heart and we volunteer. There's money that needs to be behind these things
Absolutely.
to reach
Right.
more people. So
Absolutely.
we want to find a person that can cut some checks too.
That's right.
And what we might just do, just because the way the world is going, we might have to have on a monthly or quarterly basis a situation where we do Ask Sonya, you know, where we could
That's hot.
talk
That
about
sounds
these
great.
mental
I
situations
do
and
love that
issues.
idea.
So
Yeah, I will come through. You know, I'll come through.
Yeah,
start,
so-
start with me first. I need to have some problems.
Where are you based?
My office is in Manhattan, right in the heart of the city, not far from Madison Square Garden.
Awesome.
That's
Great
good.
location.
you heard it there. We got a commitment. We got Sonya Davie in
down.
the building. She's going to be doing the Ask Sonya section with
I like
us in the
that.
near future.
Yes.
Stay tuned as we come back with The More You Know.
Oh, yeah, Ask Sonya.